It's a beautiful day here in Alberta. Beautiful snowy winter day, which would be cool except that we're in the middle of April. I'm thinking about songwriting and I'm thinking about creativity. And before I go any further on that, it's a subject I really love to talk about, but I want to lay it out there that I believe that human beings are inherently creative beings, and creativity is something that's not just the province of people like me who make their living doing music or anything artistic. I think decisions get made all day long, and every decision is an act of creativity. And it is our birthright as human beings. It's an amazing thing. We a talent, a power we possess. It's a superpower for humans. So even if you're not going deep on your creativity, like some of us are, as creatives, as artists, it still is your birthright. It belongs to you, and you can go as deep as you want. Okay, so back to music though. But remember that I'm talking about all things creative. So the dance is very often between, I call left brain, right brain, knowing full well that scientifically that's not really a real thing, but it suits our purposes. Left brain, right brain. So right brain is it's where the muse shows up. It's associated with the feminine. It's the creative. It's all that stuff. You don't know where it comes from, but thank God it does. And it can be capricious. It shuts itself off when you kind of want it to still be there. And there's ways to get it back, and that usually involves stepping away, doing something in the physical realm, getting outside of the bubble you've created for yourself, inside that creative burst of energy. And very often it shows up because you've been working on the same thing for half an hour, and then you realize, oh, I've been working on the same line, the same chord, the same idea for a long time now. Maybe the muse has left the room and it's time for me to go do something else, go do the dishes, walk the dog, have a nap, whatever, and then let your left brain take over, and usually working in the background, often with the subconscious, and it comes back to the table later, maybe in the form of your critic or the analyst who looks at what you've got and goes, oh, we can do this, and let's make these tweaks here. And then the other side of the brain kicks back in to find the solutions, and then goes back and forth and back and forth. So that's a typical process of creation in my experience. But the part I want to sort of dwell on today is the part where we wonder if we're done. This is a dilemma for a lot of us creative types, but I'm sure for everybody. And one of the problems is, like if you think, for instance, of your favorite songs, and maybe you sing them and maybe you perform them live even, whatever, you karaoke them, whatever. You have an understanding that this is how that song goes. You learned that song a certain way. But the people who wrote it didn't have that understanding. They had to come up with that. And at some point, they had to make the hard decisions as to, I think this is done, or maybe not. Maybe I need to keep going. And it did arrive at a final place, and getting to that final destination can be a difficult thing for those of us who see options all over the place and love the creative process, but also sometimes have a really difficult time making a decision. That in itself is a talent, and we can be crippled sometimes with the inability to make a decision. So let's look at that. What is it that makes us believe we know something? So how do we know that that's the right meal we're going to order? How do we know that that's my parking spot? How do we know this is the person I want to contact or fall in love with, or whatever? We have innate knowing. There's something in us that does know when things feel right. And it goes beyond the left brain and the right brain, I believe. It goes to a deeper place in us. And for people who are very logical, this can be a really difficult thing to harness, because there's always another way. There's always the critic too, right? And so if you're chasing perfectionism, for instance, logical people have a really hard time making a decision and closing the door and putting the pen down and saying, that's it, we're done. Because how do you know? So it's really about finding that place, and we all have it, How do you know what you're going to put on? Does this feel good on you today? Does this feel like the right choice? It's all about choices. And we tend to know what feels like a right choice for us in the moment. I use an example, for instance, I often come to this national park, and it's one, on the north side, there is one half of it, on the south side is the other, and I often don't know which one I'm going to go to. But when I get really close, I kind of just listen to my heart, and I listen to my intuition and go, oh, okay, I'm going left today. I'm going north. Cool. But it takes some practice, I think, and trust in this part of yourself that knows the answers to these things. And I think part of the fear around it is thinking that you can't ever change your mind about it. And this is part of the artist dilemma too, because we create something and then, you very often, especially musicians, we're creating in the studio and we don't really know how this goes until we play it live, and we haven't had that chance. So you often learn the song much better when you get to play it live than when you're actually creating it and recording it, right? So we know that, and it can color our decision making. But ultimately, there is a place that you can, especially, and sometimes it takes getting a little quiet with yourself and eliminating distractions, and you will have a sense of knowing. And it can be, like I said, a muscle that you can really build up over time. And there's been times, for instance, where I've been involved in writing sessions where I kind of come in and I'm the closer instead of the starter on this one, because people are having a hard time just finally making sure all the thoughts are marshaled and we feel good about this and we go forward, right? And but like I was starting to say, part of it is this thought that, oh, what if I don't make the right decision? What if, I have to live with this forever and everything? Well, that's part of the dilemma, but it's also part of the artistic experience. So in other words, every piece of art that you create is a snapshot in time based on your cultural understandings, your technical understandings, your artistic understanding. All the stuff that you are at this moment is what leads you to that decision. So very often it also leads to growth. And so we, a year later, might have grown a lot in our understandings, and we might look at that work and go, oh, I wish I would have done this. But at the time, it felt right, and that's all you can go with. That's all you have is the now. And does this feel right in this moment? And if it does, go with it. Nothing saying you can't do an update later, a revision, or the unplugged version, or the whatever. It's our music, it's our work. We can go back and tweak it later. I've done that before. But what often happens is you end up kind of settling into it and seeing the inherent beauty in what you created and going, oh, that was cool, and now I'm moving on. And that's a wonderful state to be in as a creator. So don't get too hung up on that. Trust your inner guidance and your inner knowing, and I would say more than anything, practice it. So practice it all day long in the small things and then the bigger things. And then once you there's a place that you can get to where you feel in your body that this feels good, this feels right. And once again, that is beyond the creative process in itself. I call it the heart. And it's the part we don't talk about in academia, we don't talk about in music school, but for me it's all important, and it is what makes you the artist you are, is where those things come together. In a way, it's where the conversation comes and comes to a close, and you go, okay, this is what it is, for at least for now, this is what it is, and that's the decision I'm making, and we're done here. Moving on.